Hello everyone, we're now live again, back with, actually, how do you pronounce it? So I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
Yesenia.
Yesenia, that's perfect. Because I was like, that situation, that awkward where you don't want to pronounce it wrong. But anyways, welcome. Thanks for your talk. That was pretty amazing. And yeah, how are you feeling?
Good, yeah.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
happy to feedback and speaking at conferences.
Interact with people.
Right, it's been, over a year.
Yes. Cool. So as I explained you, people are watching and we're giving this opportunity for people that couldn't be here, right? So we're having the happiness of being able to do it, but we also have to be this hybrid, which is interesting. So yeah, like let's just hang out and chill. But is there anything that is there any opinion that you have from this event and the themes? Is there anything that you want to add and
Oh my
just talk to
gosh.
people?
I mean, I was just so inspired by the previous talk about 3D. Like, it's not something that I really had given much thought to before, and I'm very much like a 2D designer. So, but I love, like, the spatial design is so interesting to me. So, I thought that was really interesting. I also just love like, there's so much variety, and as a designer, just like seeing different mediums and seeing people that work in different mediums and outside of the tech industry has been really,
Right.
really inspiring.
And you're talking specifically about the shoe one where they.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like,
Okay.
the poster designs. And
Yeah. So have you ever tried VR?
I haven't. I've done is I've done AR.
Okay,
Where
yeah,
you
yeah,
try
yeah.
to design a room or look at what a piece of furniture would look like in a room. Like Shopify does, just have that.
There you go.
There is a VR team. I haven't created.
Probably
that
should
myself.
try because you can
Yeah.
also just play games or also model stuff. Who knows? You can add that third element,
Yeah,
that third
yeah.
dimension
So
to
I'm
your
like,
design, as you were saying.
I'm gonna take that home.
And I love that you just like Shopify also does the art. That was great. That was a little just slip in there. So I'll ask the questions that we wrote down for you from the community. But of course, if you want to speak more about stuff, why not? Let's just keep. But anyways, first question. Sorry, I'm in the wrong. Yeah. E-commerce and digital money is such a huge talking topic right now. NFT, cryptocurrency, stock trading becoming more accessible, etc. How does Shopify keep up with the latest trends and evaluate how or if it should adapt to them? Really good question.
It's a really good question, and I am not. I don't work with like the Shopify money or capital team, but I'll just talk about like how Shopify thinks about what to adapt. So one thing that Toby, our CEO, says a lot is that it's better to be good in like get really good at the space that we can be the best at before thinking too broadly. So, as an example, like we get asked about would Shopify ever support almost like service industry, like hairdressers and beauty salons, and there's so much work still to be done within the space that we're in that we don't want to go too broad and dilute ourselves. Now with NFTs, yeah, that is it's a little over my head because I don't spend a lot of time
A whole
in that
different.
space.
I think the same. It's a whole different world, and so. But that's interesting. I think like what you said is really cool. There's two different approaches. You could broaden up to kind of rush and reach the thing, or you could just focus on the thing that you're really good at. So that makes sense. Great answer. Anyway, so second one here is, as the pandemic influenced more people to take their stores from physical to digital, how did Shopify adapt to this sudden uptake?
Yeah. So one project that I worked on was local delivery. So I mentioned that the Polaris team, we paused our projects, and it was April 2020, and we have a lot of merchants that have retail spaces, and so the time was of the essence. Like we wanted to get stuff out to merchants quickly. So one thing that I worked on was local delivery, because for a merchant that had a retail space, there were a lot of merchants that decided to, like beer distributors, like coffee roasters, that doing deliveries themselves, rather than having people come into the retail space was a way that they could adapt. And so we created a local delivery app for the desktop, shipping options, and local delivery driving app, so that someone could see all of the routes along a delivery and get there. So that was one of the adaptations that I personally worked on. Aside from that, like lots of people at Shopify worked with merchants in their neighborhoods to help them like get online, like get their stores online and start selling online if they weren't already.
Nice. And that's like an external shift. Do you see any internal shift of mentality because of the pandemic as the ideology inside Shopify and how employees perceive? How do you sort of work with this? Sorry for the very abstract question.
You mean with the shift with the pandemic?
Yeah, because we were talking a little bit about how it affected the outside market, so people that are using Shopify. But maybe this is a question of how it was perceived inside the company. Like, was there a need of a ideology change? Was there a discussion? Is this something very self-aware that we were talking about and bringing it to the table? Sort of?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was that one, the industry changes so often that like I think everybody at Shopify is always used to like we can't plan too far ahead because by the time we get to 6 months from now, who knows how the world will have changed.
That's true.
But like the pandemic, that was a massive change, and so there was like we needed to reprioritize basically everything. Like look at every project that we had across the board, and if it wasn't going to directly have an impact on helping merchants through the pandemic, then it got reprioritized. So I think that was a big thing internally. Also, hack days where teams, the team pitched ideas around things that would help merchants. There was one project that was around like QR codes because they were looking around all the signage that like merchants were putting up, and like sort of saying QR codes kind of had like a glow up during the pandemic.
True. That's true. There was a moment I thought like they're not a thing anymore. They're like obsolete, but now they're like back on.
Yeah, they always seemed kind of.
Yeah, because now like phones have like direct support. Before you needed to have an app, but now you use a camera, then it's easy. So it's accessibility in that sense. That's cool. But about these hack days, how often do they happen? I'm really curious as to, because it's a cool thing to have as employees to sort of drop a little bit of what you're focusing a lot and just like try to be creative and think of the future.
Yes. So we do. I think it's every quarter we have a hack days, if I remember correctly. I'm not great with timing. We have one coming up. But yeah, hack days, it's 3 days, and they're just an opportunity for people to pitch ideas. I think it's great because it keeps you like always thinking about the people that we're designing things for.
Right.
Like I've worked with like when I was working at like media, you're kind of designing things for advertising. It isn't the same connection, but in this case, you can kind of see like these are people. Entrepreneurship is a hard journey. Here's some projects that we think could have an impact, and a good amount of hack days projects actually ended up like then becoming adopted in the product.
Like a full That's exciting. Well, let me just do a final check to see if we have more questions, but I think people are just like slowly doing the lunch break. We had the questions and it was fun. Is there anything else you want to add from a resource from your talk maybe, or additional resource? Because this is the questions we get a lot. Because when your talk finished, like or other talks, they go like, oh, where I can learn more, or the links, or that kind of stuff.
I'm not great at plugging myself, but I did get a lot of questions about what to do when you're starting a design system, and I didn't talk about that, but I did write a book called Expressive Design Systems, and it has a lot more about the starting process and doing things like audits, and how to define the purpose of a design system, that will help you with like the beginning half. So if you're there, you can check that out. Other than that, are the slides shared out?
I believe they will.
Okay.
And if they're not, maybe you can send them to the Design Matters team, and then we can figure it out.
Yeah.
It's so just how the show goes. But
share slides.
Cool. I guess I'll ask this question because it's almost becoming a question for every speaker that comes here. Is there any interesting use case that you've seen Shopify been used for that you didn't expect? Like a client that used it in an interesting way to sell something very specific on the e-commerce world. But if you don't have, that's also fine.
Oh, I'm trying to think if I can think of anything off the top of my head.
No pressure.
Nothing, nothing comes to mind at the top of my
That's
head.
perfect.
Yeah.
Don't worry. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Awesome. So thank you so much. Your talk was great, and thank you so much for
Yeah.
allowing me to make some questions. And yeah, I'll see you around the event because I'll be around at some point after I say goodbye to everyone. But yeah, have a nice day, and I will. Yeah, the technical team is looking at me, so we'll take a little break because then we'll just go back to the other talks after lunch, and hopefully we'll have time to just hang out a little bit.
Great.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
No worries.
Great to meet you.
Bye, everyone.